reasonable.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the way boxing has it, they just, you know, they have a 54 and then they have a 60. That seems a little ridiculous.
Yeah,
47 and then they have a 54. I think you'd be better off with 10. Just a straight up 10 pounds, that's reasonable. But when you go from like 85 to 205, that shit's crazy.
Some big boys. That's some big boys.
That's a big gap.
Some of them, even 55 to 70, because most guys, you know, like a normal size guy is about my size, 185, 190 pounds. That puts you in that middle. You know, you got guys like me with a lot of muscle where I'm not going to lose a lot of fat in between, you know.
Right.
Even for this one, I was 177, but I was 4.5% body fat. You know, I couldn't really lean. You can't get too much more lean than that.
You were 4.5% body fat when you weighed in?
Yeah, before, well, I was 4.5% maybe 2 weeks before the fight, actually.
But are you getting calipers, or are you doing, how they testing that?
Over at the
dunking you in the water?
No, over at the PI. They have special
that
scales.
body thing?
Yeah, they've got
so those scales aren't that good.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about those scales. Those scales, when you hold on to those things, I mean, some of them are okay, but the best way they say is submerging you. There's a submerge one, and there's another one that uses some sort of like electricity thing, like you lie in a bed, and I think that the Performance Institute has that too. They're explaining that shit to me.
Yeah, the full scanner. Yeah. I've done that a few times, but it's much quicker, much easier just to get on the scale. And as long as it
sounds real low, 4.5% sounds
it does,
low.
but as long as it's still the same measurement, you know what I'm saying, as my last fight. For the Tony fight, I was 5.5% on
so
those
as long
measurements.
as it's in the same, with the same calipers,
yeah,
or
I mean,
the fuck they're using, you know that you're basically on point.
Yeah, exactly. I can compare it at least. But again, I can't get that much leaner. You know, it's mostly just going to come out water. If they add a 65, then, you know, I've got 10 more pounds of water that I don't have to cut out. It would be fucking ridiculous.
How frustrating was it for you going into that Tony Ferguson fight with that staph infection? Because that was a serious fight. I didn't notice it at the weigh-ins, but then the moment you walked into the cage, it was funny, man, because they were telling DC, don't talk about it. Because I was going, that's staph. That is fucking staph. And then they said to DC, don't talk about it. He goes, yup, that looks like staph to me. He just ignored him. He's like, fuck you. I'm telling him, that's staph, man. I don't know why they didn't want anybody bringing it up, because it's an important point. And it's an unfortunate thing that happens during training sometimes.
Yeah, I kind of noticed it on that Sunday, you know, and then Tuesday we do the check-ins and everything, and I had the girl, I'm like, can you know, put some makeup on it, because I didn't want you know, nobody to find out. And even Tony, you know, if he would have saw it, he would have knew I compromised all that.
Yeah.
But it frustrated things. It made things a lot more complicated. It made the weight cut terrible. Just to go back to it, I mean, I'm cutting from 76 to 50. I had to be 55 for that fight, and I tried my best to skim it down in about 12 hours. So I woke up at 5 a.m. at about 162, and weigh-ins are between 9 and 11. And from 5 a.m. till 8 a.m., I had only cut 1 pound. Compared to in other cuts that have gone really well, I would normally cut about 4 or 5 pounds in that time. But because I just was feeling good and I wasn't worried about it, and I was using the same temperature of water, I was using the same everything, but the staph made my body hold on to the water. So when I went down and checked and saw that I was still like 5 pounds up with like 2 hours to go, they started like throwing boiling hot water on me to get, you know, to get my body. Yeah, to get me sweating to get it off. It was brutal.
Yeah, that's for someone who never experienced staph. Explain what it does to your body.
Yeah,
how it makes you feel.
The next day, I felt so tired. I never felt as tired in my life, and I felt so tired to the point where I tried to counteract it by getting myself as pumped as I can. And you normally get there 2 hours before the fight. When I walked into the arena that night, 2 hours before, I was in a sweat. You know, my body was like full of adrenaline.
So you weren't taking any medication? You weren't going on antibiotics? You figured? Did you have to decide whether you should take antibiotics, and then that compromises your endurance for sure, or just let your body fight it off?
I had it before, so I had been on the antibiotics, and they just make me feel terrible. You know, if you've ever been through it, I mean, it's a terrible feeling. So I just was like, you know what? I think I can just push through it. And I'm young, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, let's just go. Like,
did you try any like natural remedies?
Yeah,
like tea tree oil or anything like that?
You know, it wasn't a whole lot I could take because I also got to cut the weight still.
Right.
You know,
But there's like some topical stuff that, and one of the things they say that works really well topical, believe it or not, is minced garlic.
Really?
Garlic apparently has a tremendous effect on staph infections.
I was swallowing whole cloves of ginger. I remember I would take ginger, I would chop it up, and I would swallow it to see if that would do something. But it was
hard.
Yeah, it's a hard. There's a
Garlic has some real strong antibacterial properties, and one of the people that I've had on the podcast many times, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, said she had dealt with some persistent staph infection. And she had like a hole in her skin, and what she did was she took garlic and packed it into that hole, and fucking killed it.
I mean, genius. I wish I would have known that before.
Yeah.
I just